If you're a coach, expert, or agency owner and you're currently running Instagram DM ads, make sure to watch this video before you spend another dollar on ads. And the reason is really simple. Chances are that you are making one of these three crucial mistakes that are probably costing you tens of thousands of dollars every single month. So without wasting any time, let's jump straight into the presentation and let's get started. So when it comes to the IGDM funnel, the process is quite simple. You have your ads. From the ads, people click on send message, then you have a form. The form says something like click on send if you want to learn how to start booking 2 to 5 qualified appointments per day with Instagram DM ads. That's, for example, what I'll be doing with my offer. And then whether that is done by yourself, that is done by you or an appointment setter, you use an appointment setting script and you get the person to book a call. And if you do a good job, you should be able to turn 10 to 20% of the leads that are sending you a message into a call. Now, when it comes to the mistakes, the first mistake that I see a lot of people make is that they run ads in Europe without taking into consideration this one key problem. When it comes to Europe, I actually have an article here directly from Meta. You can see that it says, due to new privacy rules in Europe and Japan, some messaging metrics may be unavailable. Now, if that was a CTR, if that was a cost per click, it doesn't really matter. But the problem is that because of the policy rule, Meta is not reporting the number of messages back to the ad account. So you can see, for example, in this case, I have a screenshot. We spent 30 grand on ads, but Meta didn't report any messages whatsoever, despite we got thousands of messages. And since Meta will not be reporting the data or the messages back to the ad account, you will not be able to optimize the campaigns effectively. If you see this, it's not because you set up something wrong with the tracking, it's just because you're probably running ads in Europe, or you're running ads maybe even in the US and in Canada, but you created your Instagram account in Europe, which is another big problem. And the problem here is really the following. The messages are not being reported back to the ad account. Because the messages are not being reported back to the ad account, the platform doesn't really gather any data and doesn't really know who to show the ad to, so the ads start getting shown to random people, and as a consequence, you start getting a lot of unqualified leads. So that is a very common problem that I hear and that I've seen for people who run IGDM ads in Europe. So if you are running ads in Europe, maybe I would suggest you to consider a BSL funnel, an online workshop, a lead form strategy. The IGDM strategy, I'll be fully honest with you, I think it's probably been 6 months that we don't really recommend it to European clients anymore because of these problems. Second mistake that I see a lot of people making is that they optimize for the lowest cost per message, and that is a really common mistake that a lot of people make when it comes to ads. By the way, the same principle can also be applied to the VSL strategy or to the online workshop or any other strategy, is that people tend to optimize for the lowest cost per conversion. So let's say that you have an ad here and you have the first ad that is getting you, for example, in this case, 21 messages and the cost per message is $6.91. The second one go through 183 messages and the cost per message is free euros. Okay, immediately you turn it off because this one is more than double. Maybe it is the right thing to do, but maybe it is not the right thing to do. Now, how do you know? Well, over the last 4 to 5 years, I developed what I call the decision-making scale. So you can see here that at the end, we have the return on investment. Then we have the cost per qualified call, then we have the cost per call, then we have the cost per lead and the cost per DM, and then we have the CTR, the CPM, and the CPC. Okay? Now, why am I showing you this? It's really simple. If you are running ads, the most important thing that you can do is you should be making your decisions based on the actual return on investment. So if an ad is getting you a 500% return on investment, but has a terrible CPL, it doesn't matter. It generally doesn't matter, because you always look at the metrics that are the closest to the actual sale and the actual return. And you should always be making your decision based on this scale. You don't turn off an ad that is a high cost per message if the cost per call is within KPIs. That's the example before. Now, again, maybe it's not the case, but it's just to explain to you my thought process behind it. Let's say here you have a cost per message that is 7 euros. Yes, on paper it is double, more than double compared to the other one. But what if this ad here is getting a cost per call that is 1/3 compared to the other ad where we're getting a much cheaper cost per message? So never optimize your campaigns for the lowest cost per message. Always look at this metric here, which will also bring me to the next point, which is going to be tracking, but I will touch that in just a second. And here the final question that I want to ask you, because it's a bit of a provocative question, but I say it a lot when it comes to calls. I always tell people, okay, you're telling me that the cost per lead is too high and that you want to make changes, you want to optimize the campaigns, I always tell them this: would you rather have a cost per DM of $1 with a cost per call of $100, or would you rather have a cost per DM of $5 and a cost per call of $50? And again, this is just to get you to start thinking that the cost per message, the cost per lead doesn't really matter. It generally doesn't matter, because we have some clients where if I had to look at the cost per lead, I would be pulling my hair. Like, we have some clients where the cost per lead is like $70, but at the same time, 1 out of 4 leads, they convert into a call, and they have like a 6 to 8K offer. We have a lot of clients that have cost per lead of $60, $80, and the cost per call is only $200 to $300. So again, it doesn't really matter what is the cost per DM, what is the cost per lead. You always look at the return that each individual ad is generating, and if you don't have enough data with the return, you look at the cost per qualified call or the cost per call. Much more important compared to the cost per DM. Then the third mistake is tracking, which again, how can you optimize the campaigns if you don't even know what is the cost per call that you are seeing with your ads? Happens a lot of times. I jump on a call with someone, they tell me, yes, I'm running Instagram DM ads, look at the data, and they can only tell me the cost per DM, but then when I ask them, what's the cost per call for this specific ad? They don't know. Now, if you want to track the cost per call and the return from each ad that you're running, is actually quite simple. So you're going to go ManyChat, you're going to be connecting ManyChat to your Instagram account, then you're going to be clicking on new trigger. Here, you're going to be clicking user sends a message. You're going to be clicking if message contains, and then here you're going to be clicking the keyword. Now the keyword, let me go back to the presentation that I had before. For example, here, for this specific ad, the keyword is scale. Now again, one very important thing that you need to remember, you cannot use the same keyword for all of the ads that you're running, otherwise it's going to be impossible to track. That's also why you cannot use the same keywords that you're using organically. Let's say that you have the word scale in the bio or in the captions on Instagram. That will mess up with the tracking. So make sure that each ad has an individual and dedicated keyword. So again, we go here and we're going to be clicking on scale. Okay, you're going to be clicking on create. After that, we're going to be deleting this, and instead of sending a message, we're going to be clicking on actions. Here we're going to be clicking on action, we're going to be adding a tag, and then here we're going to be calling it IGDM. Okay, and we can also, if we want, we can also call it the specific keyword. If it's easier, you can also say scale. Okay, create. And one more thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be clicking on action, we're going to be clicking on automation, we're going to be clicking on log conversion event, and on log conversion event, we're going to be using the same exact thing. So IGDM scale. Now, why do you need the log conversion event? It's really simple. So let's say that I'm going to set it live now. The reason why you want to also have the log conversion event is because you want to be able to track how many DMs you're getting every single day. So what you do is quite simple. You're going to be clicking on ManyChat, and then the way you do it is you click on see insights, you scroll all the way to the bottom, and then here you can see that if we click on this keyword, now again, there is no data because I just created it, but let's say that I run the ads with the word scale, and today I get 10 messages. Tomorrow morning, if I check here, I'll be able to see that on the 21st of October, I got 10 messages, okay? So that's how you track the DMs. Now there is one more tag that I would also suggest you to create. So let's say that you're having the different chats. So let's say this person came from an ad, and let's also say that you were able to convert this lead into a booked call. So what you're going to be doing here is going to be clicking on add a tag, and you are going to be selecting booked call. So then what you can do once a week, you go to the context, you filter it, and then not only you're going to be able to see exactly how many leads you got for a specific keyword, but if you want, you're also going to be able to filter how many calls you booked. And the framework is really simple. Once per week, you analyze the total number of DMs and the calls received from each ad. And again, remember that you need to use a different keyword for every ad. Then, once you know the volume of DMs and the volume of calls, and you can just take the ad spend for that specific ad, and you can divide the total number of DMs and the total number of calls, so then you know the cost. And the final thing that you're going to be doing is the following. If an ad has a cost per call that is outside of the KPIs, you simply turn it off. And if an ad has a cost per call that is within KPIs, then you keep it running, and potentially you scale it up if you're also getting a positive return from that ad. So these were the top 3 mistakes that people make when it comes to the IGDM strategy. If you're currently making any of these mistakes, make sure to fix them right away, because as I said at the beginning of the video, they're probably costing you tens of thousands of dollars every single month. So I really hope that this video was helpful. As always, if you have any question, you can just message me on Instagram, or you can leave a comment down below telling me whatever type of content you want to see next, because I will start recording 2 videos per week, maybe 3. So if you give me some ideas for the topics that you want to see, then it will be much easier for me to record and create the content. So with that being said, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.